Welcome to an album review featuring me and Druid, and the album we're going to be reviewing is When It's Dark Out by rapper G-Eazy.
Originally, me and Jackal Goldcake were going to do a collab review on These Things Happen shortly after the 21 Pilots review I did with Toongriff. Yeah, that thing. But it got delayed and delayed until we just didn't feel like doing it anymore, so we simply decided to review this one instead. And so, here we both are, on the same video, reviewing this album.
So, before I talk about this album, I just want to say that I just want to talk about my quick thoughts on G-Eazy as a rapper. I think G-Eazy as a rapper is pretty boring, pretty basic, pretty generic. He's a watered down mainstream rapper. He's just like another Drake. His lyrics are not interesting. He just raps about materialistic things, talks about bitches, talks about weed, talks about partying, talks about haters, this, and that, boring love songs. That's really it. No interesting lyrics at all, and that's a huge issue for me. So that's what I think is G-Eazy. How I found him, I'll just have that quick said. How I found G-Eazy. One day I was on Xbox 360. I was looking through YouTube, and I found one of his songs. And honestly, back when I found him, he wasn't even popular. I found G-Eazy before he was mainstream, before he was popular. So I just think that's kind of a cool thing to find somebody before they are popular mainstream. But still, I think G-Eazy's a pretty boring rapper. But
My opinion on These Things Happen was pretty mixed. There were great, moody, heartfelt tracks throughout, mixed with the average conscious rap you hear from other sub underground rappers. And then there were the bad tracks, which were few and far between, but these were the tracks that I just couldn't like at all. On top of that, overall the album felt a little shallow emotionally, as if he wasn't putting his all into the emotions and sounds on the lyrics. However, despite the downsides, I just didn't see G-Eazy as a rapper whose tracks I could dislike too much. Despite the shallowness of the last album, I still saw some good ideas and heard some good sounds. I didn't feel too keen on hearing G-Eazy's rapping voice again for this album, but as long as it's not Lil Wayne levels of nasally, I'm gonna be fine with it. So, Jackal, I'll be the nice guy and allow you the first crack at the first track.
let's review this album. The first track on the album is the intro, which this is just a part of the next song, which is random. The intro is basically just a part of the random song, basically a lead into it. You have G-Eazy saying some things, which I don't really remember because this album wasn't exciting to listen to, and a lot of the stuff I can't really remember. And if this review is boring, I apologize because this fucking album was boring. Anyways,
The first track is the introduction to the album, and it sets the tune into the second track, but before I get ahead of myself, the sound on this introduction is dark. Not dark as in depressing dark, but almost like a descent into the depressing mode, or a descent into madness, if you will. The small choir supports this tune well, and then G-Eazy speaks. Personally, I don't get why he has an inverted effect on his voice here, nor the point with the lyrics here. Rage against the die and the light? What is that supposed to mean? Regardless of Easy's rambling, the instrumental is decent, and it leads well into the second track, as I said before. So, to kick my part of the review off, this track earns a 7 out of 10.
the next track is random. This track fucking sucks. It's basically him talking about how his success was not random, how that's basically all the song is about, how everything that's happened to him is not random. In the song, he basically talks about bitches, materialistic things like cars and stuff, and that's really it, and it's just boring. The lyrics aren't interesting. The song's really boring. The beat is good. I do like the beat. The beat's pretty exciting, but I don't like the lyrics. I don't like what he talks about in the song. The topic of him having success to him, like him having success that isn't random, it's just not an interesting topic. It's just not that great. So I didn't like this song. I hate his verses. They're really corny. I don't know. I don't know if corny makes sense, but that's the best way I can describe it. I just really don't like what he talks about. He constantly talks about materialistic things, how he wants cars. He talks about bitches, how he can steal your girl. And to me, that's just lame. I hate that type of rap. It's fucking ass. So, I didn't like Random. Really boring.
The second track is titled Random. The tune from the introduction is now carried by a guitar and perhaps a better use of the choir than before. Before the main beat drops, this instrumental is pretty good at giving me a few goosebumps. When the beat arrives, it doesn't disappoint. The lyrics, I wish I could say, have the same qualities to them. However, the lyrics are nothing except look at how much money G-Eazy has. He can spend it on anything. He has multiple girls willing to do anything for him for money. and apparently it isn't random that he got here to this point. While yes, it isn't random how he got there, it doesn't give him the right to show off and be pretty much the brattiest of rappers you'll hear in a while. In fact, in one line on this song, and I quote, he says, "Today I think I want a phantom. If I don't get it, I'ma throw a fucking tantrum." Yeah, really mature of a guy who is a supposed role model to a lot of teenage girls and high school kids in general. So, besides the lyrics, the instrumental is great. I like the beat here. And going back to Easy himself, he actually is invested into this track, especially around the tantrum line. He at least put effort in his words. So, with all things considered, a 6 out of 10 is my score for this.
The next song is Me, Myself, and I featuring Bebe Rexha. Don't know if I said her name right, but this song, I actually do like this song. This is a pretty good song. This is probably the only song I like off the album and that I could probably go back and listen to. I really do like the song. It's got a good beat, good message, good rapping, good hook. It's a great G-Eazy song, and as much as I don't like G-Eazy, I gotta give him props. At least he has a fucking song that's good, good. I'm glad there's a song on this album that's good. That's what I want. I want an album to be entertaining. I don't want it to be boring. Sadly, the rest of this album isn't good, but at least this song, Me, Myself, and I, is a good song. I like the topic, which is basically about how you don't need nobody. It's just me, myself, and I. Basically, the solo dolo type of song, how I'm just solo. You have Bebe in the hook. Basically, she has a good. I like her vocals on the hook. They're really good. They're not too boring. They're really good to listen to. What she basically says on the hook is how she doesn't need nobody to get through the night. All I need is me, myself, and I. That sort of stuff. And then G-Eazy talks about success, and he talks about how he just needs himself, me, myself, and I. So that's basically the topic of the song, is me, myself, and I. Good song. I do like the song, and it's pretty memorable. G-Eazy, none of his verses on the song were whack. None of them were corny. None of them were just bad, and that's an achievement, because that's mainly my problem with G-Eazy is, sometimes his lyrics are kind of decent, and then he throws in some lyrics about girls or stealing your girl, then it just gets ruined. But this song, good fucking song. I like it a lot. It's memorable. And G-Eazy and Bebe, they did a good job together. They should do more songs together. They should do an album together with a style like this, so G-Eazy can maybe have a decent album.
The third track is Me, Myself, and I, featuring Bebe Rexha? Correct me, please. Take note that from this point on, there will be a lot of featured artists on this album. So, this track is pretty much known to every G-Eazy fan. I've managed to steer clear of it for this long, but here I am now. What do I think of it? Well, how do I begin? I was initially turned off on this song thanks to the cliched rapper with female guest star on the chorus simply begging for a trap remix of this shit to be featured on a Black Ops 3 trickshot video, so I wasn't enthusiastic about this track at all. And sure enough, upon listening to the first 30 seconds, I was preparing for cringe. G-Eazy does the same basic thing he did on These Things Happen in terms of changing moods and topics of his songs in the same album to represent a chaotic lifestyle. Sure, that's fine, but as a listener, I have to skip around for the good tracks, and this isn't a good track. To be fair, BB Rexa, BR, I guess, doesn't have a bad voice. She isn't like what Lorene Chia was to King Chip on the 44108 album, meaning she wasn't entirely pointless to have, but at the same time, I couldn't get into her voice either. Mainly because of the bounciness to her rhythm, which doesn't mix well with the moody beat and the tone of the rapping, in my opinion anyways. The main hook is uneventful at best. At worst, it's just slightly boring. In fact, the whole track is like this. Okay, it's not all that bad, since at least everything here on this track is done with a degree of competence, but this is not at all one of the best tracks on this album. Therefore, a 5 out of 10 is my decision.
No. The next song is One of Them featuring Big Sean. This song I have a problem with, but I also like. What I like about One of Them is the beat. I do like the beat on One of Them. I think it's a pretty good beat. It's kind of a darkish type beat. I do like the beat. One of Them has a pretty good beat. The beat's good. I like it. But other than that, the song really sucks. G-Eazy doesn't really have anything interesting on the song. The song basically talks about how they need one of them, which is basically cars or materialistic things. How if he sees a Lambo, he needs one of them. He sees a big house, he needs one of them. He sees a bad bitches, he says he got tons of them. It's just a boring song. G-Eazy's verses are not memorable. I will say this, the only lyric that I can remember from this song is when G-Eazy says, "a villainous mastermind," which is a good lyric, but other than that, The rest of the song's not that great. So one of them, not that great of a song. G-Eazy's verses are not that great besides the one lyric I remember. And then you have the worst part of the song, which is Big Sean's verse. And man, Big Sean, what the fuck? What in the fuck were you doing on this song? It sounds like you weren't even interested in this song. It sounds like you were so bored on this song. And that's crazy, you know? Like, Big Sean in this song, he sounded boring. He sounded not interesting. And the reason I said crazy is because, you know, G-Eazy seems like the type of rapper that Big Sean would probably work with. And that's crazy that he actually sounds boring on the song. Maybe he didn't like the G-Eazy, or he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll just do the song with G-Eazy. I don't even have to put effort into it. But Big Sean's verse was trash. I can't even remember what the fuck he said, but he was boring on the song. He sounded like he was asleep. And the fucking wackest part about Big Sean's verse is somewhere along the lines where it's like the end of his verse. Some of it is off fucking beat, and that is an issue. Alright? When you start getting off beat, you need to rethink your fucking rapping skills. That's all I gotta say. Because that shit was trash. Not only was the verse sounded like he was asleep, but half of it was off beat. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Can't even remember what Big Sean said. Don't even care to remember because the song sucks.
The fourth track is titled One of Them, featuring Big Sean. Before I start, I just want to say, Lord, could this track be better with effort? The lyrics are pretty much, I'm not one of the normal people. Why is that, you may ask? Because he wants a bunch of shit that a lot of normal people want? I can't get behind G-Eazy on his lyrics here. It was cool on These Things Happen, but now it's like, okay, we know, man. You want a lot of crap and you feel a little insecure. And at least the production and G-Eazy's flow are decent. Then Big Sean gets handed a third verse. This has to be the laziest I have heard him. And granted, I don't regularly listen to Big Sean, but dude, he could have seriously put some emphasis on his lines instead of sounding like he was actually reading off of a damn paper or playing some App Store games while recording. Yes, he does have some clever lines here and there in the verse, but he sounded so disinterested that I myself got disinterested. This is just. No. There could have been something good with this track, but a 4 is all I can give it.
The next song is Drifting, featuring Chris Brown and Tory Lanez. Don't even like this song. This song is ass, it's garbage, and it sucks. The beat's generic. Sounds like your generic trap beat that I've heard millions of times before. It's not that interesting. Chris Brown and Tory Lanez deliver a pretty bad hook here. Both of them sound generic. Both of their voices are just not that interesting. Their singing is not interesting. Their lyrics aren't interesting. It just doesn't excite me. Their vocals or singing doesn't excite me. It doesn't make me think they're good. It's just not good. It's just bad. You know, it's really boring. It's not even that exciting. It just sucks. And then G-Eazy's rapping is not that great either. It's okay, but it's not that exciting either. The main topic of Drifting is it's basically a love relationship song, and there's a lot of them on this fucking album. But Drifting, that's basically all he talks about in this song. It's a love relationship song. Pretty boring. It's a sleeper. It's a filler track on this album with Chris Brown and Tory Lanez. They do a terrible job at singing. Should have got somebody better. Maybe Usher. Maybe Timbaland. Somebody other than Chris Brown, who fucking sucks. And Tory Lanez, don't even know who that is. But after hearing him, I don't even care to hear his music because he sounds generic. So overall, I did not like the song Drifting. It was generic. The topic wasn't interesting. It was a boring love song. And the singers were bad. And G-Eazy's rapping was decent, but it just wasn't anything good to return to.
The fifth track is titled Drifting, featuring Chris Brown and Tory Lanez. I have never heard of Tory Lanez, and after hearing this track, nor do I really care to. Chris Brown, on the other hand, I have heard a lot about, and not always because of his music, but that's totally different topic. And from the songs he's on that I have heard, he does a good job on almost everything. So, I raise some hope for this track. Tory Lanez opens, and you know that style of singing where the singer's voice kind of crackles before the beginning of each line, and they use a soft, almost whisper for their singing? Yeah, I fucking hate that. It is cringy. It is so cringy. When I hear Tory Lane's opening for this track, I want to take off my headset and throw it across the room and try to forget what I just heard. Chris Brown surprisingly doesn't help matters either. His singing is 10 times better than Tory's, and even with autotune, because I know that there's autotune here, his voice is decent. He doesn't go all out designer or future or whatever quote unquote singer that is popular right now. He doesn't do that on us here. But this is such a drawn out hook that I almost forget it as soon as I hear it. This song is about G-Eazy feeling like his relationships are hard to maintain because he travels a lot. Big surprise. He blames his cheating on the distance, for example. So yeah, he's trying to find an excuse for being just one in a million scumbag rappers. The very last line is where G asks whatever girl is the topic of the song now why they broke up. Really? He went through a whole song about this. He has described the very reasons why they could have broken up, and he still can't figure out why they broke up? G-Eazy really is freaking insane, isn't he? I have to go through 12 more tracks of G-Eazy. So to wrap this up, 2 out of 10. Currently, the worst song on the album.
The next song is called Of All Things, featuring Too Short. And I already knew I wasn't going to like this song because I don't like Too Short. Let me just speak on Too Short real quick. I don't understand the hype with Too Short. I think he's a very garbage-ass rapper. All I heard from his music is how he's talking about bitches and how he tells so many stories about how so many girls he knew. It's just fucking garbage, man. I don't see the hype around Too Short. He's a very overrated, overhyped, garbage-ass rapper. He's not that great, people. Come on, be real with yourselves. But I already knew I wasn't going to like the song because I hate Too Short. But of all things, don't like this song. The beat, first of all, is really generic. The beat is extremely generic. It's a trap beat I've heard millions of times before. And that is the main issue on this album, is like a lot of these beats sound pretty generic, just generic trap beats that isn't that great. So the song's production isn't that great. It's really generic. You've heard it before when you listen to the song. G-Eazy's verses aren't that memorable. Too Short's verse isn't that memorable. Overall, the song isn't that memorable. The only thing, the topic of the song is pretty much, you could be anything in this world. That's what it's basically about. You could be anything in this world. And that's basically it. There's some other stuff in here where G-Eazy talks about girls partying, and then Too Short talks about girls. I don't even really remember half of the fucking verses because it's fucking garbage. But it is what it is, man. It's just a bad song. Too Short's verse was garbage. It was actually one of his verses or one of his lyrics. He was talking about how he would like steal your girl or something. It just sucked. It really sucked. So Too Short's verse I didn't like. It wasn't that exciting. Wasn't interesting. There was no lyrics that blew me away. All verses on the song were interesting. Nothing memorable. I mean, what else can I say, people? What else can I say? I wish I had more to add, but there's really nothing else to this song. It's just a boring, generic trap, mainstream song that you've heard before with a boring topic that's been done by millions of other rappers with unmemorable verses. That's basically what that is.
The sixth track is Of All Things featuring Too Short. The beat, not good. The lyrics, about haters and poking fun at them, aka trash. The Too Short feature? uh, you know the pun I'm about to tell, so I'll just explain. When I say that this verse is too short, I mean he should have just taken over the whole song. Because he gets to the point quicker than G-Eazy does, who just prances around and says malarkey for the next verse. And he sounds good doing it. I don't see having Too Short as a feature on this track doing G-Eazy any bonus. I see it as G-Eazy more bringing Too Short down, if I may say the pun again, shorter. I can't think of anything else to say without repeating the same words over and over for a G-Eazy album. On a full listen, I'm just holding out no hope in the future. 3 out of 10.
The next song is Order More, feat Stara. This song fucking sucks as well. I mean, holy shit, this is easily the worst song on the album. First problem with this song is there's auto-tune through this whole song. Not only does the female singer on the hook, Stara, she has auto-tune, and it's terrible. It's like, what the fuck is this nonsense? I hate auto-tune, alright? And speaking of auto-tune, it pisses me off when artists I like use auto-tune. That really angers me because it's like, to me, if you use auto-tune, it kind of shows you don't have talent and you're just using something cheap to make you sound better, and it's not authentic, and that bugs me. So the Order More hook, it's trash. Stara, she's trash. Uses fucking auto-tune. It's garbage. It's ass. And then G-Eazy, he makes the song even worse. Every single verse on this song by G-Eazy is ass. He's basically using auto-tune, and it's garbage as fuck. Bad enough we have a hook with auto-tune. G-Eazy, really? Like, again, auto-tune on all your verses on this song, you got to be kidding me. So Order More, terrible song. The auto-tune is the worst part about it. It just fucking sucks. Hate it. And the topic of the Order More is basically about them ordering more drinks. It's your typical mainstream party song that you've heard plenty of times before through plenty of rappers. This has been overdone so many times, and it's just not interesting. It's boring, generic, played out. It's been done so many times. Just a party song. It's not interesting. I'm done. I'm done talking about it.
The seventh track is titled Order More, featuring Stara. Typical trap bullshit here that is so far as uneventful as it gets, people. Stara's hook is bad. Typical rap slang, typical rap lyrics, the typical auto-tune usage. G-Eazy's verses? Well, he's singing for once, which isn't too bad on its own, save for the auto-tune, but honestly, I would have preferred mediocre rapping to lazy singing. There's barely anything of value in this track. This is like filler. 3 out of 10.
The next song is Calm Down, which is basically a short, kind of a warm-up song where G-Eazy is sort of on a light song talking about just basically talking shit. And that's really all it is. It's not really an interesting song. It's pretty short. It's better than Order More, but it's not really a good song. It's an okay song. But one lyric in this song that is just so fucking stupid is when G-Eazy says, "And fuck it, I'm the coldest white rapper since the man with blonde hair." He basically said he's the coldest white rapper since Eminem, which is so incorrect and just so stupid because Eminem has... I'm not even going to explain how dumb that lyric is. You should already know. G-Eazy, as cold as Eminem, get the fuck out of here. So that song wasn't anything special. It was It was better than others, but not something I'd re-listen to. I just didn't like it. It was okay, whatever.
The eighth track is titled Calm Down, which I hope G-Eazy does for the rest of his career in terms of being an obscure rapper in the underground, because there he'll be more appreciated than in the mainstream. What can you do to revive interest in an album after subjecting your listeners to the laziest and most pointless tracks so far? Try to maintain their semi-sleepiness with a semi-chill beat, a more energetic verse tempo, and an unintelligible hook, of course. This is just a terrible string of songs. I'm just shy of giving a one-word opinion of each track and stating the score and moving on. My opinion on this track? Not good. Not good. I swear that this is just filler. I swear that G-Eazy didn't know that these were supposed to be demos. I swear that this album was half finished. This track in particular makes me wonder what the hell I can say without saying the same thing twice. On a side note, there is one lyric in this song where G-Eazy claims that he is the coldest white rapper in the game since the one with the bleached hair. Now, contrary to Jackal's assumption and many other people's assumption that he's talking about Eminem, I personally think he's talking about Vanilla Ice. Get it? Because cold rapper, Vanilla Ice, you know? And if we went off of the Vanilla Ice comparison, that's nothing to be proud of, G-Eazy. But if we went off of the Eminem comparison, that is just heresy. But anyways, not good. Not good. Final word. 3-10.
The next song is Don't Let Me Go, Feet Grace. This is another relationship love song. Pretty boring beat, boring singer. Grace, she isn't that great. She's okay, but it's just not really interesting. The vocals she does in the song just are not interesting that much. Not really memorable. G-Eazy, his rapping on the song is not really memorable. His lyrics are not really memorable. Overall, it's just not a memorable song. And that is an issue with this album when I was listening to it. A lot of the stuff in this album isn't memorable. You either have... And this is another problem I have with this album is you either have songs that are boring or you have songs that are bad. It's like I can't get anything in the middle. I just have to... It's either the song's going to suck ass or the song's going to be boring as fuck and not memorable. Or it could be even worse. It could be both, which is Order More. I'm done talking about that song. I don't even know why I mentioned it again, but Don't Let Me Go. Not really an interesting song. It's an okay song, but I don't really like it. It's just a boring love song. G-Eazy raps and then the girl sings, whatever. Blah, don't care.
The ninth track is titled Don't Let Me Go. I had no hope for this track. But at least there are some good things about this track that I can comment on, such as the Grace feature. She does pretty well in setting the mood alongside the noir-esque beat, and I have to admit, the chorus is good, despite kinda coming out of nowhere. However, at least it's not bland. Even so, however, it feels uneventful mostly, and it also feels like it's a little too short or empty. Should have had more going on. To put it simply, this track for some reason just has a flaw that I can't name. But it's one of the better tracks, so I'm giving this a 6 out of 10.
The next song is You Got Me. Another stupid ass song. It's basically him talking about how, bitch, you got me fucked up. It's just a really. The beat on the song is incredibly generic and incredibly boring. I do not like the beat on this song that much. It's just a very boring beat. I've heard it millions of times before. It's very generic trap beat, and it's boring. And then G-Eazy on the song is boring. That's all I gotta say about the song. It's boring. I really feel like I'm repeating myself, people. You Got Me, just a really boring song. I mean, I guess the hook is kinda okay with him saying, bitch, you got me fucked up, but I don't know. It's just not that interesting of a song. The lyrics are pretty trash. It's just him talking about partying. And I don't even care. I don't even know. I don't even remember half of the lyrics because it just sucks. It just sucks. It's just bad. And it's not good. You know, no interesting lyrics. It feels like a repeat. And it's just a filler song. Hate this song, You Got Me. Just boring. Fuck.
The 10th track is titled You Got Me. This track is pretty popular, and as with most popular things, I dislike it. I doubt I need to explain, but let's put it this way. Ad-libs are generic, beat is half generic, half cool, lyrics and flow are pretty bad, and there's no feature to save G-Eazy. A feature on this track would have done some wonders. Well, so long as it isn't Tory Lanez, of course. A 3 out of 10 is what I can manage to muster.
The next song is What If feat. Gizzle. And this is another attempt at doing a what if this or that type song. And I was like, look, I'll give it this. It's something that it's a different topic for the album, all right? But still, I don't like this song. G-Eazy's rapping, it's okay. You know, G-Eazy's rapping, it's okay. But other than that, it's really a terrible song. What's his name? Gizzle? Bro, get this motherfucker out of here. Gizzle, his hook is fucking garbage. Alright, I don't know what the fuck that was, but this dude's hook on the song was garbage as fuck. It was so bad. It sounded kind of auto-tuned. It was just terrible. Gizzle sounded like every other singer. It was just extremely boring, extremely generic, and I didn't enjoy it. G-Eazy's rapping is okay, but still, his rapping isn't even that interesting to me either. It's just him basically talking about what if this, what if that. I mean, look, the topic is different, but G-Eazy just didn't handle it a good way. Don't really like it, but, you know, it is a different topic, but it just wasn't handled good. The execution was poor. It was just not good. The hook sucks. G-Eazy's rapping was okay, but it's just not a memorable song. It's pretty boring.
The 11th track is titled What If, featuring Gizzle, or Jizzle. I hope it's Gizzle. Generic beat? Check. And I mean it for real here. There is nothing that you can hear apart from G-Eazy's voice that distinguishes this track from so many other tracks in the trap or rap genre. Okay, well, maybe his flow is unique, is what you may say. No, you couldn't be more wrong. The only thing really G-Eazy on this track is his voice and his often covered lyrics, which can we take a moment and just say that G-Eazy has as much variation in his lyrics as Taylor Swift has in hers, except with maybe one or two more topics besides, "Oh, fame is hard. I'm so depressed. I am successful in the rap game, so feel sorry for me." Calm the hell on. At this point, I can feel no sympathy for G, even with his backstory and quote unquote introspective thoughts in his lyrics, primarily because the way he portrays his inner struggles is just too damn unrelatable to hear. The next track deals precisely what I'm taking issue with, but see, although it may be a supposed answer for G-Eazy fans to the many questions and complaints I have, guess what? It doesn't help their case that G-Eazy's lack of personality overall harms any credibility his story would have in making his music better. I do not care if it were G-Eazy, Bones, Omen 13, or even Purse Dopest. If I can't relate to the songs, if I can't seek enjoyment through the chaotic album ordering in terms of lyrics and topics, and if I most of all dislike the overall sounds, then I initially can't get behind it. However, sometimes an artist's personality can save an album. G-Eazy, remarkably, has no such personality that I can even put my toes into the shoes for. Before I go further on this tangent, I'll largely digress and just jump straight into the 13th track, which is titled Some Kind of Drug featuring Mark E. Basie.
Sad Boy. Sad Boy, you know, this song had potential. You know, it really had potential. Um, Again, the song had potential because G-Eazy's talking about stuff that makes him sad. It's him basically reflecting on some inner feelings, which I do like because a lot of rappers come out and act like, you know, everything is fine. I'm rich. That's all there is to it. When G-Eazy kind of opens up in the song, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but the song sucks. The beat's boring. The hook's generic. It's not an exciting song. All right, the beat is just really boring. It's not that interesting. I don't know. The song is a meh. It's just average. It's not a terrible song. It's not a good song. It's an okay song, I guess. But I don't really like it. I don't know. It's an okay song, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. It's really kind of boring. You know, I know the topic is a lot better than the other ones, and it's something I've been asking for or wanting out of this album, but it's just not a good song. You know, just because the topic is different, I like it doesn't mean I'm gonna like the song. So I don't like Sad Boy. Generic beat, decent hook, decent rapping. Not really anything good, honestly. It's okay. The next song is Some Kind of Drug featuring Mark. I don't know the rest of his name, but one thing I did notice is Mark, this guy and the singer, he actually did some hooks for Locksmith. So he did a pretty good hook on Some Kind of Drug. It wasn't bad, but again, this is another okay song. It's another whatever song. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's just a song I really don't care about, honestly. It's like this album is filled with boring songs, songs I don't care about, songs that are okay, and bad songs. That's the main thing about this album. That's just is I don't know what G-Eazy was thinking, but bro, this album is terrible. I don't know what the fuck you were thinking, but this album sucks. But let's continue. Some Kind of Drug, basically talking about how it's basically about drugs. You know, I don't really remember any of the lyrics that much. Don't really care to because this album isn't interesting. This album is incredibly boring. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I feel forced reviewing this album. I just do, but I'm gonna get through it. Fuck it. But yeah, Some Kind of Drug. This is an okay song. You know, Mark has a good hook, but not really a song I like. It's whatever. You know, G-Eazy's rapping is okay, but it's whatever. Just like the other songs I talked about.
It's a love song. Bad. Mark E. Basie is a mediocre feature, and the lyrics are like your typical R&B song, except with a beat that doesn't quite match, with its minimalism and everything. I'll give it credit, it isn't grating too much. 4 out of 10.
The next song is Think About You, feat. Quinn, which is basically another boring, generic love song. And it's like, how many more of these are you going to make, G-Eazy? It's like the second half of this album is a lot more boring than the first half. So, Think About You, just to speak about it real quick. Think About You, very boring song. You have the singer Quinn, which she is pretty generic. She's like generic as every other singer I've heard that I said was generic. Her vocals she doesn't deliver anything interesting to the hook. The topic of the song is basically another love relationship song about how, you know, I'm thinking about you. It's just not interesting. G-Eazy's rapping is, you know, it's average. It's okay, but I don't really like it. You know, the song's not interesting. I don't know what else to say, people, because like I said, this is forced. I feel forced to review this shit, but hey, fuck it. Think About You, it's an okay song, but I don't really like it. It's not that exciting. It's pretty boring, pretty generic, and I've heard it before. Whatever.
14th track is Think About You featuring Quinn. Quinn hits the nail right on the head in this track with her first verse and the hook. Given the sad theme of the song and the unusual yet captivating nature of her verse structure, the parts she has are great. The beat here is pretty good as well, and hell, if it was all Quinn, I'd be rating this the highest score on the album already. However, G-Eazy has to rap, and although I've ranted on him a while ago, he isn't that bad here, I'll admit. He at least keeps this track short, which I am pretty grateful for. This was the song that revived my interest in this album. In my honest opinion, it is pretty well done compared to the rest of this album after the first 2 tracks. So I'd give this a 7 at most.
The next song is Everything Will Be Okay featuring Hella or something like that. Look, this song is another decent song. It's another song that I think I would listen to besides Me, Myself, and I. So, finally, a song that actually has some decency to it. Now, I don't like the hook. Again, we have another singer on the hook that just doesn't deliver a really good, interesting hook. But, you know, the beat on the song's pretty good. I do like the beat, but the hook just isn't that interesting in my opinion. So, you know, I think the beat's pretty good, but the hook isn't that interesting, to be honest with you. It's just It's just not interesting. So this song's just not interesting. You know, if this album review just feels forced, like I said, but you know, everything will be okay. It's an okay song. I like the beat. I like G-Eazy's rapping, but the hook's not that great. Yeah, it's just talking about sad stuff and how everything will be okay.
The 15th track is titled Everything Will Be Okay, featuring Kalani. Not as good of a feature as Quinn, but certainly not as bad as Tory Lanez. The hook has to be the laziest I've heard on this album, or at least the shortest. It almost flies by, and the main focus is on G-Eazy's rapping, which I don't mind too much, but really, it's like Kalani was overlooked. The lyrics on this track, big surprise, are the best on this album. This covers what we need to hear more about from G-Eazy, his actual inner struggles, besides the famous hard crap on the surface. The lyrics progress through an actually coherent story, besides thoughts swirling in his head. The hook actually changes meaning each time it's uttered in the song. The beat is the most fitting you can get without being overly emotional or underrepresentative. This is one of the few songs that I actually wanted to replay a few times because it's just that good relative to the rest of the album, including the better tracks. Strangely enough, this is not the final track because man would that be an ending to appreciate, but we have 2 more tracks after this. And so I am leaving this track with an 8 out of 10.
The next song is For This, featuring I Am Nobody. It's an okay song. I mean, the hook's okay, but it's not really an interesting song. It's basically G-Eazy. The topic of the song is basically how they did so much for this. They did so much for the success. They did so much for what they have. It's whatever, but the song's just boring. I don't really like it. It's okay. The hook's okay. I'm just gonna skip.
The 16th track is titled For This, featuring I Am Nobody. This is a pretty chill track. I'm liking this. This is pretty much another I'm Famous song, but this time he's amazed he made it, which I guess is better subject matter than the other reactions he could have had. The hook is decent, I'd say. I didn't really listen to the lyrics too much overall, since the overall feel of the song is what makes it good. This is the song on the album to relax to. Not much to say, but a 7 out of 10 for the good feels.
Next song is the last track on the album, Nothing to Me, featuring Keisha Cole and E40, and this is another boring song. It's basically about haters and how people who talk shit behind their backs is nothing to them. Haters are nothing to them, and it basically also talks about success. So, not really a good song. Keisha Cole disappoints me on the song. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she was on the song Game's Pain with the game, which I thought she did a good job in that song. But here, she's okay, but she's not really that interesting. G-Eazy, not really interesting. E40, not really interesting. Overall, it's just not really an interesting song. It's not exciting. I don't know. It's just not a good song.
The 17th and final track is titled Nothing on Me, featuring Keisha Cole and E40. This is another anti-hater song, which I don't care for. It doesn't apply to me too much, so I'm unaffected personally. However, the hook is good, the beat is good, and best of all, we got E40 in this to give his wild style and even throw in some lines that surprised me. For example, I didn't know that Notorious Big rated him 0 on a scale of 1 to 10. For the most part, this track is alright. It's getting a 6 since I'm pretty neutral towards it, but it's a decent closer to this album.
Overall, I give When It's Dark Out, the album by rapper G-Eazy, I give it a 2 out of 10.
And my final score for this album is a 4 out of 10.
It's one of the most boring albums I ever heard. It's up there with Speeding Bullet to Heaven. It's boring. It's not memorable. And look, people, I apologize if I wasn't good in this at all. It's just, when you're trying to do something and you're forced to do it, it's just not going to be good. You know, I was wanting to do sort of a G-Eazy album review with Druid, and I was like, okay, but I just feel forced talking about it. So, overall, I give G-Eazy's album a fucking 2 out of 10. The only reason I give it a 2 is because I like this song, Me, Myself, and I, and I like the rapping and beat on Everything Will Be Okay. But other than that, this whole album sucks. All this, pretty much the rest of the songs on this album have generic beats, generic hooks, terrible rapping, extremely generic songs. This album is filled with bad songs, boring songs, generic trap beats, awful features, boring topics, not interesting lyrics. What else can I say? This album sucks. It's boring. And I give it a 2 out of 10. Alright? And it wasn't exciting to listen to. and I'm not passionate to talk about it. So if my part sucked, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, everybody. Let me know if this was good or not, because I kind of feel like I didn't do a good job with this. But you know what? I did it anyway, even though it's forced. Fuck it. Review this damn album. Glad it's over with.
The good tracks on this album really set up the points, but it's way too long of a downtime on this album when there's just bad song after bad song with some boring songs in between, and the lack of variety doesn't help. A majority of tracks here have featured artists, but most of which can't really help the overall score of the songs they're on. Especially Drifting's double feature, which even Chris Brown couldn't save. Damn! My favorite track out of this has to be Everything Will Be Okay. Second goes to Think About You, and third goes to Random. My least favorite tracks? You can guess what they are if you listened fully. This was a frustrating album to sit through, all in all, and I will not be revisiting it anytime soon, save for the good tracks here. I'll give These Things Happen some credit. It had a good roster of tracks that weren't too bad, but this album, man, was this a pain in the ear canals to find some good tracks. That's all I have to say about this album without going off on an incoherent rant. So, to wrap things up, thank you, Jackal Goldkick, for inviting me onto this collaboration. And to all those watching, thank you for watching, and I wish you a good day and night wherever you are in the world.